Hello and welcome to this relaxing sleep meditation track. In this track we're going to take a magical and mystical train ride to a faraway land, and we'll be meeting an interesting character along the way before we reach our destination of sleep. So please make sure you're in a situation and location where it would be safe to fall asleep, and we'll begin. You find yourself standing in the waiting room of a train station. It's a dark evening and the rain is pouring down onto the roof of the waiting room on the platform. You look around you and see several other passengers, all eagerly awaiting the arrival of this night train. The rain bounces on the floor outside the waiting room, soaking the platform and forming several puddles across the ground. In the distance, you hear a rumble of thunder. And you eagerly await the arrival of your train, taking care not to knock over your luggage as you move around. You begin peering out of the window. The only protection you have from the rain outside, a thin pane of ancient glass. In the distance you hear the toot of a train's whistle. And you begin to pick up your luggage and make your way outside onto the train station platform. You begin to see in the dark, cold evening mist the outline of a train heading towards the station. Again, you hear the reassuring toot of the train's whistle, announcing its arrival. The rain begins to soak your clothes. As you look around, you see other passengers desperately waiting for this train to arrive. As the train grows nearer, you see it's an old steam locomotive, with steam puffing from its chimney into the night sky. And this beautiful train slowly pulls to a stop. As the carriages, one by one, gradually begin to slow down as they reach the platform edge. You patiently wait as several passengers step off this train and make their way hurriedly to the exit, trying their best in vain to avoid the rain. You step on board the train, being careful to lift your luggage and carry it onto the coach. And as you look around, trying to locate your carriage, you notice several interesting characters that catch your eye. These include an elderly lady in a red dress who seems to be making much noise and much fuss. A middle-aged lady in a smart business suit who seems somewhat annoyed by the fact she's become soaked by the rain. You also see an elderly gentleman who you would say is probably in his 70s or 80s, and he's wearing a pair of circular glasses, the sides of which vanish into his thick white hair, and his hair is cushioned by an old-fashioned black top hat, which he removes as he looks at you and gently nods his head in acknowledgement of your contact. This elderly gentleman walks into one of the cabins just down from where you're standing. Distracted for a moment by this activity, you hear the murmur of passengers clamouring behind you and asking if they can please pass. So you apologise for getting in their way, and you walk along the coach to find your private compartment. And as you come across your compartment, you open the door and then close it behind you. Dropping your luggage to the floor, you sit down and breathe a sigh of relief. At last you are dry, comfortable and warm in this luxurious compartment, which will be your home for the night. And after a few minutes of rest and relaxation, you begin to pick up your luggage and place it in the overhead compartment areas. You're pleased to see that this private compartment has very long, luxurious seats, and also a fold-down bed above the seat. And as you fold down this bed to inspect it, you notice crisp, clean, white sheets, freshly washed and pressed just for you. And you begin to feel even more calm and relaxed as you enjoy these beautiful surroundings. And after sorting out your luggage and becoming drier from the rain outside, you hear the train's whistle once again, and you sit down as the train slowly begins chugging its way up to speed. The rickety train tracks making a rhythmic, hypnotic sound beneath you. And as the train begins to pick up pace, you sit by the window and look out into a beautiful countryside vista. Although the night is dark, a full moon provides excellent light, and you look at the landscapes of nearby villages, and you see some people walking through the streets of distant villages, spilling out from the rural pubs they've been attending for the night. One particularly merry man falls over as his friends howl in laughter around him, pointing their fingers and laughing. And you move your eyes just a small amount to the right, in a distance that will take miles to cover on foot. Your eyes can cover just by simply moving around from this distant view. And you see a beautiful large lake, and you realise that the train track is extending towards this lake, and the train begins to pass over an ancient bridge spanning this lake. And you wonder at this magnificent scenery, and you become more and more tired as the warmth from the room slowly dries your soaking wet clothes. Once the train has passed this great lake, you enter into a beautiful hillside scene, with hills stretching up and around the train for many, many miles to come. And you begin to wonder if before you go to sleep, whether you would like to explore this train and see what else it has to offer. So you stand up and you walk out of your compartment, taking care to lock it behind you and place the key in your pocket. And as you walk along the corridor, you hear voices coming from the various cabins, and you recognise one of them as being that louder lady that you heard earlier in the red dress. And you can hear families talking. And as you continue along the corridor, you look through the window on the door of the next compartment, and you see the elderly man with the glasses and the top hat. As he looks up at you and smiles, you offer him a friendly wave in return. In reply, he waves his finger as if to beckon you into his cabin. So you open the door and step inside, and you begin talking to this man, and it becomes obvious as he tells you his name and his job and what he's done with his life, that this is a man of great education and wisdom and experience. And as you talk to this man, your eyes feel tired, and you begin to rub them with your fingers. And this man asks you what your problem is and why you feel so tired. And you start to tell him of some of the problems in your life, whatever things you have going on in your life at the moment, which are stopping you from sleeping and giving you restless nights. And this man smiles and asks you, do you know where all the answers are to all the problems in your life? You think for a moment, and you smile, and you say that you honestly have no idea. And this man begins to tell you a fascinating story. He tells you a story of how when the world was formed, there was an interesting dilemma, and that was that all things must be equal. And you may know the way that nature always makes everything equal. So after drought comes rain, and after heat comes the cold, and there's always an ongoing battle to make everything equal. But it's presented an interesting problem in itself, because in order for people to have problems and issues in their lives, it would only be fair and equal that the answers to those problems were kept somewhere. And this old man asks you if you know where this somewhere is. And you smile and you ask him what he means. And all the old man is willing to say is that all of the answers to your problems exist somewhere in the world. And he asks you if you can guess where that somewhere is. And you take a wild guess, and you say, if these answers are to be hidden so well, surely they must be at the top of the tallest mountain. And the old man smiles and says, that's a very good guess, but it's not the correct answer. And he invites you to come back and see him when you found the correct answer. So, slightly mystified and quizzical, you stand and bid him farewell as you leave his compartment and walk along the train once more, his riddle sticking in your mind and playing on your thoughts. And you continue along this corridor that you were walking along before, and you reach the entertainment area of the train. There is a large bar in the corner, and there's a huge grand piano. But the entertainment area is currently not being used, and you decide to admire the work that went into making this beautiful ancient piano. You sit down at the piano and you wonder about what music you could play if only you learned to play the piano when you were younger. If only you'd continued with those lessons. If only you'd continued on your journey of learning the piano as you once began, but never completed. And you wonder, what are the things in your life you started and never completed? And you think about the time when you were swimming in the sea, and you really wanted to learn to be a better swimmer. And suddenly, an idea dawns on you, and you make your way back to the cabin containing the old man, and you tell him that you've thought of the answer to his riddle. And what may that be? He asks. And you tell him that all of the answers to your problems must be hidden at the bottom of the deepest ocean. And he smiles, and he once again says, I'm afraid that's incorrect. Feel free to come back and see me again when you have another answer. Somewhat frustrated by this, you leave the cabin, and you begin to wonder where the answer to all your problems lie, if they're not hidden at the top of the highest mountain or the bottom of the deepest ocean. And you decide to walk back to this entertainment area, and in the corner you spy a telescope pointing up through the roof of the train, where there has been a special glass panel installed so that you may look at the stars through this telescope. So you go up to this telescope and you look into it, and you see nothing but blackness. But as you begin to move it around and to adjust the focus of the lens, you begin to see the most wonderful constellations of stars. And you have no idea what you're actually looking at, because you're no astronomer, but you can still appreciate the beauty and peace and serenity that you feel when you see these ancient stars. And you remember once learning that stars don't actually exist in the current time. The light that you see from a star is actually light that existed thousands of years ago in a faraway place. And the light you see that you call a star is simply the light from that faraway place that has taken all this time to reach Earth. So what you see in the sky now is actually an ancient remnant of a long ago event. And smiling to yourself, you have an idea, and you return to the compartment with the elderly man. and he's surprised to see you again so soon. But you tell him that you know the answer to his riddle, and you know where the answer is to all of your problems. And you tell him that the answer surely lies in the stars. And he smiles and chuckles, and he softly shakes his head, and in a pleasant and reassuring way he informs you that's also incorrect. And he says he'll give you one more chance to guess the answer, and after that he'll tell you the answer. So you leave the compartment once more, and this time you turn the other way and walk the other way down the train, and you find yourself coming across the train's kitchen. And as you open the door, you see the kitchen area is deserted, as the hustle and bustle of dinner and lunchtime servings are long over. And you see a huge wooden door made of ancient oak, and you walk over to this door and open it, and you realise it's the fridge freezer of the train. And suddenly the answer to the old man's riddle hits you. So you close the door and walk back through the kitchen, and as you meet this man once again, he asks you for your final answer, and you say that the answer to all your problems must surely be hidden in the most frozen place on earth, maybe in the North or South Pole. And he smiles and once again tells you that's incorrect. And this old man opens his jacket, pulling the left-hand side of it away from his body, and he reaches inside with his right hand, and he pulls out an envelope. It's a white envelope which has been sealed, and you're surprised to find it has your name handwritten on it. He hands you the envelope, and you smile as you take it from him and hold it in your hand. Then he tells you that you may like to keep thinking of what the answer is to this location where you can find a solution to all of your problems. And he tells you that when the time is right, you can open the envelope and discover the answer. So you thank him and you leave his compartment. Feeling somewhat tired now by the day's events and the night's adventures, you decide to head back to your own compartment. And as you sit down, the train pulls up at the first stop on its journey. And as it slowly comes to a stop, you place the envelope on the bed as you walk over to the window and see people stepping off the train and several others stepping onto the train. And after a few moments, the train once again sounds its whistle and begins to pull away from the station, returning on its journey. And as you look out the train and you see more beautiful lakes and hillsides and villages, your eyes become more and more tired, and you begin to yearn for bed. And you know that there are more stops coming up, but you would rather just go to bed and get a good night's sleep. So you walk over to the bed and you change into your pyjamas, and as you climb into bed, you remember the envelope that the old man gave you earlier. Quizzical about what the answer to this riddle will be. You wonder whether you'll open it now, or in the morning, and after a few moments' thought and contemplation, you decide to open it now. And as you open it, you find inside a single sheet of paper. And there are just 2 words written on this sheet of paper. And those words are, inside you. And you take some time to think about this and what it means. And you realise, after some thought, what it does indeed mean. You see, so many people in life look for solutions to their problems elsewhere. So many people look to others for help. So many people think that they have problems they need solving by buying something, or by doing something, or by paying someone to tell them something. When the simple truth is that the answer to any problem you have lies within yourself. And if you think about a problem you've had, such as sleeping, the answer lies within you. And if you look deep enough inside your mind, you will find that answer. And you'll find the answer will come to you in your sleep tonight, if it hasn't already. And when you awake in the morning, after a pleasant night's sleep, all of your problems, if you have any, will seem easier and make more sense, as you realise that you have the power and the control to change the path of your life. And as you become more aware of this, and you remove the need to look to others for help, you realise this doesn't mean that you're isolated, and it doesn't mean that others can't help you or won't help you. It simply means that many times, if you look for the answers elsewhere, you won't always find them until you look within yourself. And with this pleasant thought in mind, you lay back on the bed and place your head on the soft pillow. And this thought gives you great comfort, because this means you no longer need to spend time trying to find answers, because all the answers you need are already within yourself. And you think about a time in your life when you've been ill, and your body fought back and learned to overcome this illness, this infection, this disease. And you realise that's what the message from the old man meant. And with this in mind, you close your eyes and let the letter and the envelope fall to the floor. And as the noise of the train rhythmically and hypnotically continues in the background, you continue on your journey to a deep and relaxing night's sleep.